season 2 of JX.
We
My name is N Sabanor.
we had we ate today. We had a great episode.
Whew.
Like it was
Oh, we
A
ate.
feast for the
Yes, sir.
ages.
yeah yeah. We are going to be we're going really deep into the last 3 episodes of 97 tonight and talking about all the cameos, talking about all the storylines, their potential, little call outs. Basically, anybody who has any questions here, shoot them. I'm so hyped up. I wanna say one thing. I think that of all the characters, I didn't think I was going to enjoy the way that they handled his character. I truly think that they showed uh, Eric, they showed Magneto so much love in this
Mhm.
season of the show. They really grew who he was, and they kind of evolved the character from who he was during the original run of the show when it was on in the '90s, in the comics and in other media, where he was kind of, you know, the the everyday, you know, bad guy. Yeah, he had some reasons for being extra, you know, like he sympathetic because he has the Holocaust aspect, and he's arguing for rights, and they and just want to live, and everybody has the right to live, and that has a lot of meaning. But they really grew that argument and expanded on it, and really took it to another place with what we got in this show. You know, in the X-Men '97, they modernized him to really flesh out the character, flesh out what he stands for, and they handled his, I would say, redemption, fall, and wherever we're going to go now with grace. And I'm just really pleased. So I just wanted to do a shout out and make sure that I commented on how Magneto, for me, you know, everybody has their one that stood out, and for me this season, I think it was all about Mags and how wonderful they did him. And you know, truly, Magneto was right.
Yeah,
So,
Magneto was right.
I completely agree. And like the amount of times I was writing down just quotes he said, like,
Yeah.
and how much in modern day it means in the world around us, which have always been what the X-Men are for. And yeah,
Yeah.
did a huge like round of applause for the writers and the storyboarders and everyone who's worked on the show, and how freaking much thought went to the show, because it is fantastic. And I just love Magneto in the season.
Yeah, they really show that he's not evil. Like, he is exactly as evil as you could say Charles Xavier is. Like, they are opposites of the same coin. They're fighting for the exact same thing. They are just they're just doing the thing that they think is best. And in all fairness, Magneto is doing the one that history has taught is the way to do it. And Charles is hoping for something greater that truly seems unrealistic. And in a world even more right now, in the modern world where we live, you know, I think that Magneto in the '90s, the '80s, he was less someone you couldn't look at and go, I agree with a lot of that. Like, you kind of were like, no, because nobody should be killed. And now you're kind of like, wow, I don't agree with that. But at the same time, like, the world kind of does more and more all the time. And he's Charles is naive. Like, you start going, whose side am I on? But you know, obviously, you don't want any. You want peace. It's just what Magneto says hits a little bit harder nowadays, and it makes you question and look around and go like, you know, what the way he sees it in that world, you kind of go, it's genocide for him or not. You know, it's kind of just the way it is. So, goodness, well done and timely and important for a commentary as interesting and you know, niche maybe the X-Men animated series reboot is. An important commentary on the current world we live in and a lot of stuff that's currently happening. So I was really impressed.
Yeah, as you guys know, I binge watched pretty much the entire season in the last 48 hours.
Yeah.
and I literally just finished the last episode like 10 minutes before we started this. So I am pumped. My watch like gave me a thing that my heart rate was too high and shit, and I'm just sitting here like watching a cartoon. I was like, oh my God.
So tell us what you thought. Like, you have this all so fresh.
Yep.
You have 48 hours recent knowledge, and you have you even said you have the least amount of back comic knowledge for it. So
Yes.
what do you think? Like, what did you think of this show?
10 out of 10. Episode 5, when
Yeah.
when Gambit wrecks that super ultra sentinel thing, is Gambit mon ami, and blows them up.
Right.
And then he dies, and then Rogue is crying over his body, saying she can't feel him. I'm driving over the Skyway, so if any of you guys are familiar with Tampa, it's this giant bridge from Tampa to St. Pete. And I'm driving over the Skyway, and not very safely. I'm also watching episode 5 on my phone. And that, it's like the end of that episode. And I was starting to tear up. I was like, dude, this is intense.
Yeah. I cried during a few of the episodes. You know, I'm not. You know, there's no shame in that. You know, there's been numerous times I've cried. In recent times, you know, people used to cry at movies because, you know, they connected to a story that they'd never heard before, and that's really beautiful and pure. But like, I personally connect to the stories I've always wanted to see on the big screen or the small screen when they're done right. And when I read these comics originally, and these moments happen, like the fall of Genosha is probably one of the most. There's only like 4 comics that stand out in my mind as you know, as just emotionally devastating,
Heartbreaking.
and honestly, like, of my top 5, I think 3 to 4 of them are Marvel, and Genosha's like probably number 2, because it's the Morlock massacre that I was alive for, and I read, and I didn't think was happening. Like, I didn't see that. It happens like it happens in the show, except, you know, if you know the comics and you know what was coming, you heard Genosha and you went, uh-oh. You know, you see it being granted the being recognized as a country, and you're like, uh-oh, because that can't be good, because we know it's going to happen. But if you don't know, and the way that took from you, that's how it took from us in the comics. You know, we did not see Genosha getting wiped out. You know, that
was what I experienced today, because I've heard you guys talk about it, but I genuinely had no idea it was coming.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh no, this is a lot.
Yeah. And, you know, it sticks in the comics. It sticks. You know, there's a few of those. You know, the moment that, you know, we had some major cameos, and this one, the last episode, whoa, did we ever have some cameos? The intro of as many Avengers as we're seeing really is exciting, and it does show that they're now allowed to play in the same playground, which is very fun. But, you know, we saw Scarlet Witch. You know, there was a moment of a couple moments of Scarlet Witch there, with Quicksilver, yeah. And, you know, that character, you know, as meaningless as that little cameo could be, you know, she's like probably the second most important X-Men villain, technically, of all time. You know, she's responsible for so much, and if she shows up, you know, again at some point, because they introduce something, you know, only the feelings of Genosha only like expand that to worldwide kind of situation. So, you know, X-Men hit hard, and that episode, I think, as you said, it hit so perfect, and in the comics, it hit right, but the show didn't pull punches. So even those like myself and Jay, and I don't know if you had, I think you knew it was coming, but we all knew it was coming. I think it still hit us equally as hard because of how poignant they made, you know, every moment, like where Rogue's fighting, and you see Gambit fighting, and you see everything that happens with Magneto, and how devastating all that is. There's a lot of power in that, and it really, yeah, I couldn't hold back the tears, honestly. I've watched it a few times. Every time I'm like, by the time that she says I can't feel you, I'm
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
weeping. I'm just like, it's not fair. It's not fair. It should be Remy. It's just like that. It always hits right. So
And they just
it's
went through
yeah,
that whole thing of like
yep.
explaining why she has to just be friends with Gambit and goes out there and like makes out with Magneto. And I was like, oh, no.
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much in that, just that episode alone. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
a question for you guys. Now, we have seen, based on what happened in this last episode, we have seen the time split and we've seen them be in different time periods, and we're going to deep dive into that. But I want to ask, why do you think, so do you think the Rogue being able to touch Magneto, that being introduced, yes, we know where it comes from and where that started out and why that's a thing. But that being put into the episode when it did, as early in the show, did it have us waiting for something? I'll lead it to something, and technically we're getting a payoff, but not really yet, and we'll see what happens with it. But why would they have done that? Was that to make the Gambit story hit that much harder by giving her a split, and were we kind of faked out by that, by being like, maybe they'll touch on it, but that's not the point of this. The point is to hurt you by making Gambit hurt, and you hurt for Gambit. Is that why they did that, you think? In which case,
yeah.
well done. It played
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I can see that because it's like, it's a rogue guy who can be a little bit eccentric in Tony Stark kind of ways, sort of. So it's like, yeah, to make people feel empathy, you gotta not pull punches. You gotta.
I mean,
Throw
I
your
think
punches.
Gambit
Yeah.
character is the most I think Gambit from the animated series, the only character that was more popular than him, technically is Logan. And Logan is a
absolutely.
mixed bag because Logan he's Wolverine, and like, I'm gonna be honest,
Yep.
I love Wolverine, but like, I don't get the hype beyond he's cool. Like I like that he's cool. He's Canadian. He's the best he is at what he does, except I don't think he is anymore because there's a lot of people that do what he does in the comics.
Which is good because he
So-
needs to rest. He's just an old
Yeah.
man who's fought
Magneto
every
pulled-
war.
Magneto pulled all the adamantium out of him, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
And I didn't
Yeah.
just,
major
okay.
compa. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a major moment in the comics. It has a lot of importance of what could be coming. It had
And then
the
Morph over there
retaliations.
pretending to be Jean.
So I like that a lot because I think that was used in a very clever way.
Yeah.
Originally I saw it and I was a little uncomfortable because I'm like, not for any other reason than I'm like, that's manipulative. Like it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
He's like, she can't do it, but I can. And then he turns
Yeah,
into
like-
Jean.
it's manipulative.
Like
but
this-
at the same
This
time,
guy.
he loves, like, we've seen it. Morph is in love with Logan. Like, he loves him and he wants to show him that. And I think that him doing that was him knowing that what Logan needed,
Yeah, exactly.
but also being able to have his words. What he needed in that moment was to have his words have the meaning that he wanted them to have to Logan. Which, if Morph says it, Logan loves Morph too, differently.
Yeah.
Like, Logan in this, as we're seeing, doesn't appear to be bisexual, does not appear to have romantic feelings towards Morph, does have romantic feelings towards Jean. So the love of Morph would be the motivator for Logan to heal. He just knew how he needed to hear it to actually make it work. And I use that to excuse it, but at the same time, it did make me a little like, I don't know if I love. But also, it is Morph who does stuff like that. So who knows?
Yeah, like the last time you saw that, which was in the same season as well, it was to play with Logan. So it's like the first time you do it to play with someone's emotions, and the second time it's like,
You know what it's going to do.
Yeah, this is serious. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's
So-
very clever. Rewatching the original,
Yeah.
I've been doing this past couple weeks. Jean and Morph are literally, and Jubilee are the three most important people to Wolverine, And
Yeah.
Morph is so close that he knows that he needs Jean's words because Jean is the one who helped him when he joined the X-Men to alleviate his past and how broken Wolverine gets when she's gone.
Yeah. It's well, and honestly, it is a callback because the one thing I was concerned of, and the way it ended in the previous episode is I remember reading those comics as they came out. You know, the moment with the adamantium rip, your heart stops because you're just like, especially back then, because you're like, is Logan dead? Like, nobody could live through that. And it's showing here, he's healing, like he's holding on and he's healing. In the comics, holy moly, is it not like that at all? Like,
exactly.
He's basically almost dead in the comics, and the only thing that keeps him from dying is Jean. Jean goes into his brain and basically like calms his brain like you would pet a rabid, like your rabid dog that was just like scared and was defending. Like she basically pets him like he's her he's her pet, because that's what he becomes. He becomes an animal, and his body is only healing because that's all it can do. He loses his freaking nose, and that's canon. His body regresses, and his nose disappears for like, I think almost a year, where like he's just done with no nose, and it's commented on like he has a mask that just covers his face with no nose bump. It's an unusual moment. But yeah, Jean's there, and she's the one who holds them together. She, with her telepathy and telekinesis, holds his body and mind together long enough for it to heal. And she doesn't stop until they're back to Earth, and he's being cared for in the lab, basically. She's there that whole time, and she wasn't there. So I was so concerned of how is he going to survive this? Mm-hmm. And I think they've been very generous to his healing factor with the ability to like maintain any body structure with his bones basically being demetallized. So it's awesome, but her being there and being the one that helps him through it through Morph is a callback without it being an obvious callback, while it still is story, like it fits in the story we're currently watching, but still it is Jean who holds him together technically, which is kind of nice. Like that's a kind of cool thing that, you know, when you sit down and you figure it out, you're like, this guy really read comics. Like he knew these characters. He's been this was a passion project, and and you know, the Easter egg hunt of this show is, it's unbelievable. What did you guys think of the Prime Sentinels? Did you feel like we got robbed of a terrifying villain over a longer period of time? Do you think we'll see a return of the Prime Sentinels, or are you kind of like, that was really cool, glad we're over it?
I think we'll definitely get more of that kind of Sentinel going forward. I wouldn't exactly
like
say
Bastion, you mean?
Well, maybe, but also like, oh, what's her name? Karima? Like, when's she gonna appear?
Omega?
Omega?
Yeah.
Omega.
Yeah, Omega Sentinel.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Prime Sentinels are gonna be on the back. Like, they're gonna come back. And I think Omega will be the leader, for sure.
Oh, that'd be cool.
He has to be. Yeah.
That would be very cool. Okay, so Jay, did you happen to grab your notes from the previous episodes?
Whew. Man, that was so much. So much.
There were a lot. No, the only reason I was going to ask you is and I didn't know if everybody else had one. I know KD will. Who was your favorite cameo? Like, it could be anybody, but like, in any of the episodes, who's the favorite, like, whoa, that person? Because I'll be surprised. I'm going to be honest.
This is all cameos. This is all cameos.
It's all.
Look at this.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot of cameos.
That's not even all of them.
No.
Do most transformations count?
What's that? What did you say?
Does Mark's
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, of course, it's a cameo.
That concretes
Okay.
their existence, because
Yeah,
like
it only
magic, like
includes the
magic is
scene, right?
something
Yeah,
we didn't see Ileana become magic in the original show, but he transforms into her, and Darkchild as well, and so that obviously he can't transform into her unless.
and Ilyana does exist in the original show,
Yeah,
so we know
exactly.
that he is there. So yeah, they like Jay said, it introduces the character as being canon to the series. You can pick anybody.
For me, it's got to be T'Chaka, not
Yeah,
T'Challa. T'Chaka.
yeah, we'll have a talk
So
about that. I was talking about with Jay a little bit. It's an
yeah,
interesting
it's definitely
choice.
got to be before T'Challa takes up the mantle, and before anything else happens in Wakanda. But like, yeah, it's got to be the one that sticks out because not only did he just appear or was like he wasn't a transformation, it was the actual T'Chaka,
Yes,
and
it was.
he did do something. Like he broke glass and broke sentinels in the process. So
And Jay even has a fun little piece of information that he told me earlier about him and this show, which is
Oh.
yeah. Jay, you want to tell him that you told me it's not the first?
Yeah, not the first time. When they go to Africa, which they go to Africa in the original show quite a few times, but one of the episodes, it's well, it's actually when Magneto is when he's doing Asteroid M and he's picking people from Asteroid M, and so when they're leaving, it's Black Panther watching them leave Africa. So not the first time Black Panther has shown up in the show's continuity.
So for me, it's MJ.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I wanted to talk
yeah.
about that. It's
Because for me, that means that he got her back,
yep.
and that makes me so happy because in my mind, MJ's been lost in the multiverse
Oh
for
no.
all these years, and like that was such a cool last episode of the show where he said goodbye to Stan Lee, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go find MJ." And I was like, "Yes!" And I remember I waited all summer, because I didn't know, and like the internet wasn't what it is now. There was no like, well, what's been picked up for another season, and I waited all summer, and for 3 weeks in a row, um, in each month, September, October, and November, I would wake up and I would go look at like the TV guide and just scan it, going, when's the new season starting? And it never came. It
Man.
never came.
Yeah, I had it on
It
DVD and it ended. The way it ends is like, I was like, when's the next DVD? Like, when can I go to the next one? And there's not one. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? Love
Yeah,
the show though.
it's
Fantastic show.
and it hit. It's so the original X-Men. They had so many. They had a like. If you watch that, we don't call it cameos, but that show is just again full of cameos. Any episode that has Morlocks, you're like counting out the
Mhm.
different ones, going like, "Oh my goodness, that's Face. That's that one. That's that one." Like it hits in a weird way where you're looking at it differently because it's an older show. But when um when you look at the Spider-Man show, every single character that's handled in that show, even if they're not handled the exact same way as like similar to how the old X-Men show, they both had such respect for the source material
Yeah.
and the representation of the characters that they always represented these characters really true. And for me growing up, even after the movie came out, until the Netflix one came out, Daredevil was the one we saw in the episode today. He was the one that I saw in Spider-Man. When he showed up in those couple episodes of Spider-Man, he was supposed to have his own animated series. They never ended up going forward with it, but that was my Daredevil. My
Yeah.
Daredevil on screen was the Daredevil from the old Spider-Man show, and the way he spoke and his personality and the it wasn't the same one as the comics, but that was this version. And both Spider-Man and X-Men have done these characters such justice that, I've tried so hard to not be that guy I was excited the first time we saw Spidey, and then the second time we saw Spidey, and now they're showing me Peter and Mary Jane. Come on, stop playing with my emotions, people. I really need the show to be now brought back in the same fashion, the same love that this one is, because I need to see, I need to get closure on that. I need to see how he got her. Also, they need to introduce Gwen and and Penny and a bunch of other characters now because the universe has grown and we can move past just different variations of just Peter if you're doing multiple spider story because it doesn't have to just be Peter anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
for
my
me-
favorite one.
Yeah, the only thing I've got to say, like, it's great that we've seen a lot of Miles Morales, but like I've seen so many different so many Spider-Verse projects with him in it. It's like, okay, so obviously Peter Parker's gonna be there, and the second most likely character would be Miles. Would there
I'd
be
say Gwen.
a story
at
that
this
we
point.
could have
Gwen's
without
really
him?
popular.
Gwen, sure, yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what's great?
I have nothing against Miles.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
like,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Like,
yeah.
the Miles story. I love Miles. I really do.
Love
But-
Miles.
A lot of the
Yeah.
other Spider-Verse characters haven't had a shine. And if they do
Exactly.
if they do a '90s continuation, you can get Kane. Like, you can get Ben. Like, dude, there's a lot of stuff. You can
Miguel,
do
maybe.
and Spider Woman as well. Someone who Gwen's kind of taken over
Yeah.
the female Spider lead. So yeah,
I'm okay with that. I'm really pro Gwen. I like her. I like the character. I think she fits really well into what they've done with the Marvel universe as a whole, where they really want to keep playing with characters from other universes. They should really like show one with consequences of it. Like, don't show just the worst world. Don't show like a character that story isn't the exact same, or it's just a variation of. Show me a character like Miles. Show me a character like Gwen, where their characters are original and their own, but they are, in the same vein as stuff that happened to Peter. Like, there have been a lot of them. The different Peters, I feel, for me, I get why they're doing it. It's the same reason why DC moved off and tried to reboot every major character into their younger versions and like new characters, new Superman and new Wonder Woman and new Batman and all this, and I get it, but they didn't end up moving on. Like, there's still Clark Kent is still Superman. Like, there's still, you can't move on from them. And I think that Peter, the alternate universe, if it had succeeded, Miles probably never would have come over, and he would have been the universe's main Spider-Man. And I don't think his character would have grown to the heights he has. Because coming over into the main universe, having interactions with Peter, being involved in the Peter stories has really helped the character grow. But I think that I'm good with giving those characters a little bit more. I'd be fine with them introing them as much as I want to see. Like, don't make a billion of these because you'll overdo it and you'll saturate the market and everything. I would love to see them do like the Spider-Man show and then do a show that's like the other characters. They used to do stuff like that. We don't have to have a limited properties of just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Give us high quality, stagger it well. I mean, honestly, an animated show, it takes so long to make. We're not looking at our second season. We're looking at our second season next year, I think. But then, like, a dry spell. Then a dry spell. And I'm not ready for that dry spell. I need more. I need more. So I do get what you're saying. Gwen and Miles are just such, in my opinion, such great characters, and like one of the well done versions of introducing variations of a popular character in an original way,
I totally
and
agree.
having them be able to carry their own story. Miles is so like such a cool, clever character, and there's only been a few characters I think that have mirrored, but like every time I see Miles, he just gives me real like Shock vibes, and I love the character too. So
it's funny.
like it just works really well.
since we're talking about the Miles, I just want to point out he technically won't even be born yet.
Yeah, yeah,
it's not till
Yeah.
2 years from now does he get born.
Yeah.
Does he get born?
yeah. Won't see him for a bit.
99.
He was allegedly born in '99. I think they've finessed his birth date, but it's around '99.
Huh.
It's really
Yeah.
funny. But no, I totally agree. I love Gwen and Miles, and I'll never be tired of them. And just but yeah, I'd like if they do the the '95 Spider-Man show, I'd love to see more stuff.
I don't know how I feel about being younger than Miles then. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's fine.
I'm not. I'm old.
You're not. But I
I'm
am.
very much older.
It's freaking me out. Because I thought he was, like, roughly closer to my age. It's like, is that much older? Jeez.
Just a little bit.
But now you're making me feel older than anything, so you can stop it because you're making me feel so old.
Yeah.
My birthday's coming up, guys. I'm gonna be so old. I mean, much younger than a lot of people, and I love all my friends who are older than me. You guys aren't old. For me, I'm gonna be an old man. It's okay. I'm gonna get my chair. I'm gonna rocking chair that sit out in my back and eat sunflower seeds and tell the kids to get off my lawn.
I will go back to answer your question. I think it is Uatu is my favorite cameo. I think that is just I think that is just so important to Marvel storytelling.
And important.
Yeah, as a comic reader, we know stuff was about to go down. And I think the second one probably will be Strange, but not the fact that it was strange, but more of Beast talking about Carmitage and there being a fixed point was probably my cameo.
Oh,
that was my favorite cameo besides the Uatu.
I felt
That was pretty cool.
It felt like he was referencing there being a canon event.
Yeah, canon of that. I don't need it. We don't need Miguel. We don't know Miguel's correct, but a fixed point we know for sure is an actual thing.
Yeah. Just a different label, in my opinion.
I know what you mean. A true canon event. It said what
True
Miguel
canon
thinks.
event.
Yeah, the both of those are exceptional cameos. Like they're both really cool. Yeah, we got. I mean, at the end of that last episode, with the amount that we were just thrown at, the Avengers, seeing them dealing with stuff, seeing seeing Wakanda have some form of interaction with this, seeing. Now, interesting though, why wasn't Peter suited?
Ooh,
They were under attack. I've never once seen Peter Parker not suit up when under attack. It's powerful, it's wonderful, but why? Why is he is it more important to see him with Mary Jane in that moment? Hey, Coco.
Yeah, what's up, Coco? I just saw.
What's up, guys?
Welcome.
So I mean, is it more important to see the fact that there he is with MJ, or the realization that why isn't he fighting? But also, wasn't he earlier fighting? How long has it been? They've been under attack. Why did he decide I'm going to go out on a date with MJ while we're under attack by these Sentinels and stuff? Just an interesting little question I had for everybody.
Maybe a clone.
Why is Peter
Maybe
slacking?
Hey, maybe it's a clone.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, is that mean that the Spider-Man we saw, could that be Ben? Is that what they're doing? Where, because Peter's the only one who dates MJ. So is it Peter and MJ, and then Ben's in the suit? Are we getting some kind of, Clone Wars happened. This is when this is. Because it kind of is, I think, based around when this is. Not in the comics, like with Genosha and the Sentinels and Zero Tolerance, but in the time? Wasn't the Clone Saga in the late 90s?
Yeah.
So I mean, realistically, maybe that's what the nod is to.
Yeah, 94.
Yeah.
The original was the 1970s one, and then they had the 94 through 97.
Yeah.
So
97. So
Yeah.
there you go.
And
there
then
you go. And the Clone Saga ended with Peter going, "Ben, you're gonna be Spider-Man." That's maybe what we're getting. That's very clever if they line that up to line up with the actual year that's in the. They're way too smart to be doing this.
It's so funny. Like, I love that they kind of bounce between storylines. Like, yeah, this could be taking place at this time, so let's do this storyline or let's allude to it.
Yeah,
like it's very clever. And we'll pick it up later.
Coco,
Stuff
we were talking cameos and our favorites from the show. We listed our number one and two. What do you think? Which one did you go? What? Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was talking to my toddler a second ago.
No worries.
Well, that's hard. So in the finale today, we got all kinds, which was awesome.
Absolutely.
It's hard for me to narrow it down. But if you know me, you know that I flipped my lid when we saw Alpha Flight, because hello, Alpha Flight.
Yeah.
Why was Psylocke?
I saw those hairy legs, and I was like, "It's Buck! Yes, it's Buck!" And then Aurora Northstar were there too. I don't know why Psylocke was with them. Does anyone know? Like, and was that Psylocke or was it Quanon or like I don't know. This whole
Yeah.
Dude,
and then
one of them friends with her, or
we
well, I think they're on Genosha, and I think that's why she's there.
What?
Yes, maybe she is. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
What?
So she goes and she went to help. She went to help out with the operations because they've all been mobilized. I guess since Genosha. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, having Coco bringing it up, but having Apple Flight show up was really exciting. Puck. I mean, everybody's a fan of Puck, but I'm partial to my Canadian flag and an armored suit. So there's no shame in getting to see some Guardian. Is always pretty cool, or a snowbird, a Sasquatch. They're always fun. But
I mean, today, like we got so many today, like in quick succession. I mean, Daredevil was there. Spidey, Doctor Strange, Silver Samurai, which we've seen Silver Samurai once before.
In an episode, yeah.
And the original.
And then Steve and Tony, and
the other Steve.
I was not.
Oh,
I really just wasn't expecting to get I've just been so used to X-Men being its own self-contained thing. Just the fact that we got other Marvel characters at all is just really cool for me, because X-Men's been its own thing for so long with the whole rights issues and all that stuff. And so just the fact that we got other Marvel characters in the same universe all at once was really exciting to see finally,
100%.
Yeah. So for years, I think that there was a clear thing. I'm not.
Oh, shit! I didn't want me to leave that.
See animated movies up to a certain point.
Hey,
well,
the DC animated universe is really good.
It used to be really good, and then they started doing stuff like the Killing Joke and other stuff where I have a lot of issues with the Killing Joke. Like, it's probably one of the worst. Welcome back. Probably one of the worst animated adaptations of any comic story ever.
Here's the thing: they took one of the best stories ever. And made a terrible movie.
Terrible movie with it, and added in something that was unnecessary that completely destroyed two characters. Like, it was almost like character assassination on two wonderfully important characters. Like, it was horrific.
I assume you're talking about the Batgirl.
Yes.
All right.
About what?
I'm
You don't
talking
need
about
it.
the inter-Bat family relationships. I didn't like that. It was very inappropriate. It was not cool. But I will say
It's
that
completely unnecessary. Like I don't know why they even added
yeah,
that.
it was horrible. It was horrible.
So
It was
this
character
it's a very strange
assassination.
choice.
Barbara Gordon. Yeah. But they had up to that point some really good Doom and Two Worlds, and like there's just so much good stuff, and like even their Justice League Unlimited, like DC was kind of killing it for the animated shows. I very much enjoyed those shows.
There for a while, it was the best comic related stuff there was.
And
I
that's
mean,
the point.
it really was.
And that's the point I'm making
Like,
because
Under the Red Hood was fantastic. Like, there's some really good stuff.
Yeah, I think this is Marvel going. Basically, Marvel has now entered into that area where they can do. They showed us in the last few episodes. They're all in the same group now. We can play with any characters, interacting with any characters for the most part. You know, we have this ability to give you, you know, all this, and that's what made those shows so much fun. Is you'd be sitting there going like, "Hey, Plastic Man's in this episode of Unlimited, or Stargirl, or
Yeah.
or Gnort." You know, like, what are you doing? So there was just so many different
Unlimited
types of
had so
characters that
many.
could show up. Yeah, and now we're seeing that. Not necessarily, like, I don't want them to overdo it. I don't want to go like, you know, I don't want to go Grant Morrison's Justice League on this, where you get like a team of 30 superheroes all fighting together. No, that's too much. But seeing that they're splitting people up and they're going to bring other characters in,
Yeah.
it gives really cool vibes. It
Yeah.
really gives a lot of the like, I know this is actually a bunch of stuff that's happened in it, but it also kind of gives the same excitement reading Avengers Forever gave me. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that story, but it's like King, they need a help. Basically Rick Jones is in a coma. Libra comes in to help Rick Jones. Immortus is trying to kill Rick Jones. King doesn't want Immortus to win. Helps Rick Jones. Rick Jones uses his powers and brings Avengers from different time periods together to protect him. And then they all get split up and go into different time periods. And it's such a fun little thing that it gives you a lot of. If you haven't read it, it's on Unlimited. It's a great little miniseries that actually does a lot to like explain different characters in different time periods. Like, you get two Hank Pyms are on the same team. One's in his mental breakdown, Yellow Jacket persona, and one's in his, you know, Giant Man persona, where he's like much more evolved and willing to, like, you know, take the backseat, but he's there specifically to antagonize the Yellow. Like, there's all reasons why Rick's brain brought them all. It's really a really great moment, but also seeing them all split up. One of the cool things about that was they all interacted with different teams or different things in different time periods. And, you know, you got to see like Blood Raven. Like, Blood Raven's like a character nobody knows, but like, whoa. And you get to see these different, really cool, like the Avengers that actually weren't recognized as a team of Avengers until to this storyline, when all of a sudden they were like, yeah, that happened. And like, it's a team with Aphrodite or something on it, which I didn't even know was a thing. It's just a great little opportunity for them to give you so many extra characters and give you like a little burst of information. And I kind of hope that's where they go with this, where we get to see time important characters. Like we've already seen, you know, the spoiler of they went to the future, and there's Rachel. Rachel Summers is introducing herself as the leader of the people that saved Nathan. So it's just a very exciting who can show up in these different time periods. You know, we've got so much to pull from, and does that mean Stripes on his way? Even who knows?
Ooh.
So we are getting into comic territory with the ending of the show. The three different times, the present day, the future, and the past, all
Yeah.
being connected through this is just very clever, and especially doing some of my favorite storytellings is when you do that. Dark on Netflix comes to mind because I love that show. Where you're connecting the past, present, and future at the same time, and this is through Apocalypse, someone who can pretty much survive anything, pretty much has survived everything,
Yeah.
is super clever, and
Yeah.
I could
And
go
Age
into it
dot com.
so much. But what do you guys think of that?
Age.com. It was nice. It's like, okay, when I saw them pop up in the BC era, like that team with Rogue and the Nightcrawler and then everybody else, when I saw them take down whoever they were raiding the little village, I thought they were taking down the Four Horsemen for a moment there because I knew that, oh, hey, they're in the desert, and I saw the BC
Yeah.
thing. Obviously, it's gonna be in his territory. The first mutant ruler or first mutant, or I don't know. No, I don't. As of the, but like I thought they were the Four Horsemen, but now I'm like not so sure after seeing.
Oh, those weren't the Four
him.
Horsemen.
Yeah,
No, no.
Apocalypse has not been
Those weren't
made
the
yet.
No,
He's
he-
only in
he-
Subpar.
seeing
Yeah,
finally seeing him the way he was, it's like, yeah, no, those other guys definitely weren't the Horsemen, that's for sure. So yeah,
no,
it was
but he has
an
a
interesting
unique power because he's still mutant human, and there is zero celestial technology attached to him or
Mhm.
anywhere on him, which that could be what we're seeing. You know, that could be where this is leading towards because, you know, without the celestial technology, he is a very powerful mutant. He's
I saw
definitely
that
not a
dome
mutant that could.
that dome
Yeah.
in the distance. Would that be where the celestial technology is coming from, though, or would that be elsewhere?
I mean, he finds it usually like the way he gets his technology is on Shep, and I don't know if they're gonna. I guess this might be the stand-in for Shep because Ship is like a sentient spaceship
Mhm.
that's given that has like celestial. It's celestial vessel that basically Apocalypse makes a deal and ships get sent to him and he goes in the ship and through ship he gets to make the deal and be able to become imbued and then they're like, but you have a price, we're gonna take you, and eventually they do. Eventually they come and grab him and like that's a major plot point is they come and they grab him and then because they grab him it brings a lot of stuff down and a lot of stuff happens in different units and it's kind of the end of Apocalypse for a time period in the comics because the Celestials grab him. But yeah, it might be where he gets it. I think that's probably going to be either that's where his castle is and he's like leading already but he's not ascended, I guess, or they're going to help him. I think they're going to help him. Honestly, I don't think they're going to fight him.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would fight him at that time period. I doubt he's not really evil at that time period. He's just trying to survive, and they all want to kill him more than anything.
Yeah.
Well, and we
Yeah.
also don't know, we also don't know where they're gonna go. You know, like, are they gonna go classic AOA? Are they gonna go House of X? Like, because I mean, there's vastly different things going on with him and with everybody, depending on where they decide to go next. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different.
I mean, I don't think that they'll go House of X yet because I think there's too much to cover to get them there. Because where we
can't
ended
keep
this season,
decimation.
you can't really jump all the way to House of X. But at the same time, in House of X and Powers of X, which is multiple time periods, Reddit, there's definitely Apocalypse is not necessarily this big bad evil in House of X,
Actually, not. Yeah.
and so I don't think they're going to go there yet. I think they might eventually go there, maybe. I don't know.
If anything, they'll set up
so much they can cover. There's so much they can cover before there, technically. But at the same time, like, who knows
I don't
what
know.
they're actually going to
I
do.
don't know if they can. I don't know if Hickman can translate the television. Honestly, I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can give that. I don't know if you can give Hickman television because it's too high thinking. It's too like there's so many references and tangential moments that you kind of have to like grasp at until you get the whole story.
Look, bro,
really
just
hard to
let
do
me,
as a kid, so.
just let me have gold balls and Rasputin. And just let me have my fun, Noel.
You'll have I'll give you an AOA Nightcrawler, and I'll give you Mikkel as a horseman, which is like the funniest character ever existing in any comic. Colossus's brother is so funny when he's a horseman. He's such a little like conniving dude and so funny.
Dude, AOA Cyclops is like the best. The mullet and the, you know what I'm talking about? Is that AOA?
Yeah,
or was that it?
the
Was,
mullet.
right? He had like the super
Yeah, he's
long
got-
hair and
Yeah,
the ponytail sometimes.
Yeah, he has the long hair
Yeah.
and he has the single eye. He has the
Yep.
single eye.
Yeah.
Why?
Very cool
Who
design.
took his
Yeah.
eye? Who took his
Why?
eye?
Yeah, who took his eye?
Make it resemble. Yeah,
Someone
of
took his
course.
eye.
And who's missing a hand?
Who took his hand? Yeah. Well, I mean,
I want it
Great,
all.
nice.
Give it to me. Give me
so
Sabretooth
many
and Wild
things.
Child. Give me, like, come on, let's
Wow.
go. I'm ready.
I could use more Sabretooth in that show. Every time, like Morph being Sabretooth is the most fun thing that happened in the show for me too. Like,
When he brought the beer.
I love Sabretooth. Yeah, I just love Sabretooth so much. He's such a cool character.
I honestly was really shocked watching the original, and I'm like, watching the Fox movies. I bet you and rewatching the X-Men the X-Men animated series, like you can definitely tell where they were inspired by Logan and Sabretooth because it was straight from this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's such a. I mean, the character of like Sabretooth is from the comics. He's such a cool character they've done so much with that in the shows, like seeing what they did, I was hoping there was like a couple moments there. I'm like, I don't know how they'll fit him in. I don't know how they'll fit him in. And then I was like, oh, they're not going to be able to fit him in. We're too far gone at this point. There's no point for him. They're not doing any Logan-based stories, and then this happened. And I'm kind of like, well, I guess this is technically Logan-based. But it was very surprising that they didn't do more with him. I guess because they know he's going... Like, if they ever need more help, they'll just dive really strong into Wolverine stories to get the viewership up, but I don't think they'll need that. But I really wanted some more Sabretooth because the character has done so much, like the way he's grown from being collared to all the way where he was up until recently in the Krakoa pit, and like what he's responsible for and what he was capable of is he's like, I mean, they've touched on all the major ones. Give me Sabretooth. He could totally handle a team for a while. Give me something. And especially
I think it's
AOA
really
version.
cool. I think it's really awesome that we got a whole season of this show without really diving into the Wolverine story at all. And it's still getting like massive acclaim, not just from hardcore nerds from us, but like even like more casual people are like, this show is really good. And they basically ignored the most popular character. Like, you know, I mean, and so like, you know, I'm sure that there will be that at some point. I'm sure we'll get Wolverine stories. But I love that they focused on other people. Like, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely right.
I need them to comic magic and resurrect my boy Remy real soon though, because that pisses me off. But
we'll get
anyway.
there.
Hey,
I mean,
We'll get it.
the
We'll get
Horseman
away.
of Death is coming.
I mean, it's sad though because I will say, on a small note.
Oh, Gambit could be Horseman of Death.
That's exactly what it means.
Might be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we will.
We are getting black-skinned Remy.
I think it's a little sad though because
I'll take
I
it.
do want to say I remember, you know, it's crazy to say, but I remember like 20-something years ago where a character died in something, and I went, oh my god, that character's gone, and there really wasn't any thought that character was going to come back, and I kind of hate that I assume he will, because I think
Yeah.
it cheapens it a little bit. Where I'm like, it's not so sad. Like I say, oh yeah, it's really sad. It breaks my heart, but I go, but I'll see him again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Will we? Because
I think
maybe they're better than that.
Ooh,
maybe,
yeah.
but also I think that's a testament to how well done this show is. Because I have that mindset of he's probably not gone for good, and I still cried watching that episode.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah, the impact
they
is
still
there.
got me. Like I was still emotionally like right there. Like, holy crap, they just killed Gambit off. Like
Yeah.
I was still upset. Like even though there's probably greater than 70% chance he comes back at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like they still got me with that scene. It was so good.
I
like-
totally agree.
Yeah.
Like this show is just
yeah.
I would like to say this. If they do bring him back, they might actually add on to that Rogue not being able to touch him bit. Where if she is brought back and he is a horseman at that point, like if they're brought back to the present time while he's a horseman, if he's brought back, that is, you could have an addition to that, maybe.
Dude, no, absolutely, and
He
Hor-
kind of is a thing.
he's being brought back, but he's not being brought back as a Sam Remy. This is death. Like this is death.
Yeah.
Like, this is it happens to
Yeah.
be Gambit,
Yeah.
but this, like, you see how twisted Archangel became. This is the exact same thing that's gonna happen to Remy.
Yeah. Is it, or is this going to be like Logan death and Remy death from the comics? Because they've both been death, and that lasted about two issues. Like,
Yeah,
like
well,
Logan,
yeah.
Logan went through all that, and he was so twisted, and then all of a sudden, like, the next episode, he was in his usual outfit, fighting with them against the guy who had twisted him, and he's just like, "Thanks for the adamantium back, brah." Like, it was that fast. And with Gambit, he was like, "Cool, I got this. I'm crazy death now." And then all of a sudden, it was like, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna deny Apocalypse now. Okay, I'm not anymore." Like, it was that fast, and I would love it to be something like. But is it he's gonna be cold death, like broken? He won't be able to be connected to until the end of the season, where Rogue breaks through love, because I see that happening.
And being able to finally touch him, too.
Yeah, but I mean, that will be the thing, right? Like, she'll grab him or something and be like, "I can touch you, Remy," or something. Like, I can see it. I don't dislike it, but at the same time, I've seen it before, so I kind of hope they go with a small bit more of a, maybe
It
just
does
he
have
is,
to be done well.
like, make him gone, make him, as you're saying, Jay, wipe out that Remy LeBeau and just make him death, and he can utilize that, like give me the Gambit who laughed,
Ooh,
the
fake out.
Give me the fully
So you
evil,
want-
twisted version of Remy.
So you want the Fred treatment from Angel? Anybody ever watch that show? Am I the only one that's an Angel head?
No,
Anybody
yeah,
watch Angel,
no,
the spinoff of Buffy?
Yes,
I
I'm
haven't seen
talking.
So
that because she was
Fred was this girl on the show that was their friend, and then she got possessed by, I don't remember if it was a demon or an alien or what
was a god.
exactly, a god or
It was
something.
an alien god, basically. Yeah.
And so she didn't leave the show, but once that happened, she was no longer herself. She was this god in her body. And so, like,
It hurt so much. It was such a sad
it did.
thing.
It
I
was
love that
it was
character.
devastating.
And then, but her saying goodbye to Wesley in the last episode, where she pretends to be Fred again for it's such a good show. Oh,
I
screw
love
you,
those.
Joss.
Buffy and
Screw you,
Angel are
Joss
so
Whedon.
good.
Screw you,
Yes,
Joss
peak
Whedon. You ruined such good things.
Joss Whedon, Buffy, Angel, and Firefly. It doesn't get better. I don't care. I love Avengers, but there's nothing better than those three things. Like, so good.
Firefly.
Before my time,
Oh,
guys.
what could have been? Oh, you know what?
Have you
Down
never
on
watched
Netflix.
Firefly, Jay?
Look,
Have you never
guys,
watched it?
Guys.
Bro,
Has it been
seriously, have
recommended?
you never watched it?
Yes, I have not seen it. I'm sorry.
No.
It's
Oh
been
my
on my
gosh,
list since
Jay.
I was born.
You would
It's
like
so
it.
good.
I know I would. I've seen the first.
I aim to misbehave. It's so good.
Yeah, and Angel,
it's
I've
so
seen
good.
I've seen
I
stuff for Angel,
still
but I've never
haven't-
watched it. And same with Buffy.
I have a deal with my wife that if I ever have the opportunity, not the actress, Keely, I have to meet the character in real life. But I have a deal with my wife that there's no questions. I'm allowed to get on that spaceship and fly away with Keely because that is the love of my life. That woman. Oh, I love the part where in Serenity. Oh, that is so funny. Where he's like, "Are you saying sex?" And he's like, "Yes." And she's like, "Well, then I'm not dying." Like that's just the funniest thing ever. Also, Alan Tudyk is fantastic, and so
That
is
cast-
like every other
That whole
member
cast
of the
is
cast.
so good.
Yeah, Adam's
so good.
amazing.
Maybe-
you know what they really are
Maybe
well
like the perfect cast. Like
Yeah.
there's
They
been
all
some
offset
shows
each other.
that get pretty dang close, but I think that might be the best cast ever. Like as an ensemble,
Absolutely.
it's just so perfect.
So everybody-
so perfect.
Everybody, please start listening into Coco and Mine's, Joss Whedon deep dive, Firefly.
Yeah, we'll be having a Firefly watch along podcast
It's
and talk about how much Fox screwed the pooch by canceling it and airing it out of order
I was
and
gonna
everything
say,
else
the
they did to
canceling
ruin
it-
that
well,
show.
Of course they canceled it. They have to cancel it. Nobody watched it. Why nobody watched it? Because they aired like the third episode was the last episode, and the first episode was the last one they ever aired. Like it made no sense. I watched every episode on original
And-
air. Never made sense
Well,
to me.
And two of the episodes they never aired are the
Never.
two best episodes of the show. Like
Absolutely. They're dark episodes, though. They're really dark.
they were,
episodes.
but they're probably
I
also the
get
best
not putting them
ones.
on. Absolutely. But let's go back.
I was gonna say you lost me. You lost me.
Yeah.
Sorry, we had to go on an aside. And everybody, if you haven't watched Firefly, you need to go watch it. Seriously,
Absolutely,
it's
I
so
agree.
Maybe.
good.
Couldn't agree more.
Maybe.
Look,
Maybe.
there's nothing
I
better.
want-
It's a cowboy space western.
I
okay?
know
Like,
I'd like it. Okay, I know. It's
with
been on my
really
list for a
fun
very
way,
long
like,
time.
The way they
It's
speak is really
hilarious,
fun,
like-
too.
Oh
It's
my
like-
gosh, it's so funny. Alan Tudyk is a genius. Like Adam Baldwin, Jane is one of the funniest characters to be on television in
I'm
the
a
last
leaf
30
on the
years.
wind.
Like,
It's wonderful.
don't take me there. No, I'm not ready for that. It's still too soon.
No, it hurts. It hurts every time I think about it. It hurts. I wanted to ask. Actually, I had. Now we saw a lot of heroes. We
That's
talked a
exactly-
lot
what were we
about
talking about?
Yeah.
Oh,
But I want. Have you guys? Did you guys catch all the villains we saw showing up at the end of the show too? Like, we commented on Alpha Flight, but did anybody see Winterguard was there?
Mhm.
Like Winterguard was fully
Yeah.
activated,
fully,
along
yeah.
with Omega, which was really fun.
Wait, say that
Although
again.
I'm gonna have Omega was there, like Omega
Yeah.
Red. He was there with Winterguard, which he's usually not with them, considering he's kind of too scary for even them to work with most of the time.
Yeah.
But
See, I was
Ursa there?
trying-
'Cause I didn't. See
I was
Ursa.
trying to figure out who was behind Omega Red. I didn't really catch who
Yeah.
was there
Crimson-
standing there with him. But
Is it Crimson
I
Dynamo?
saw
Crimson
Yeah,
Dynamo
was
and
there.
I forgot her name with the yellow suit.
I did not see Ursa there, which was bummer because I really wanted to see Ursa Major. It's
Yeah.
my favorite mutant, technically, in like the whole Marvel universe. Is the guy who turns into the big bear that likes beer. It's just hilarious.
yeah, but he's already in the MCU, so we're good.
I want to add on.
Was Red Guardian there?
No, Red Guardian's not
No.
there.
Well,
It's,
Red Guardian.
It was just Omega. It was just Omega, Dynamo, and there
it's
was
not,
one other person.
it's
standing
not like
there,
Dark
but-
Star or something, right?
Yeah, that's it.
It is
I
Dark
think
Star.
that's it. She's the one. I think so. She has that wild power that's
Yeah, okay, it is Dark Star.
like gas or something, or whatever it is.
Yeah, so Dark Star had appeared in the show before. In fact, she fought Omega Red. which was cool. And then Omega Red was last seen in the show at the bottom of the ocean, right? He was in the Russian submarine.
He did the sub thing, yeah.
Yeah, in the nuclear. So yeah, that's really interesting. That they're
Yeah, I thought that was really fun that we got some of that. Seeing them bring back characters that you're seeing all these heroes, and all of a sudden I'm like,
well, we saw Omega like earlier this season, right? Like, didn't they
Yeah.
show him?
They
Like
did.
in one of
they
the first
showed
parts
him
of the
waking up.
finale or something.
Yeah, he was shown waking up from the. I forget what it's
Yeah,
called.
he was in
but-
like a stasis thing or
Yeah,
something.
he's
Yeah,
very much like
like,
Winter Soldier
let's see.
in the sense, like
Yeah.
being activated when he's
Yeah.
needed is very much.
well, he
like-
has to be, otherwise he'd die, because he still doesn't have his carbonadium. How do you say it?
He does have his carbonadium.
carbonadium?
His carbonadium.
No, he doesn't have the thing that helps him, like the regulator, the thing he keeps going after Wolvie for, like Logan for, is the thing that helps sustain it, so he doesn't have to keep eating people.
Okay.
No.
He's your
Okay,
friendly
that was-
neighborhood He's your friendly neighborhood cannibal. He doesn't want to eat people. He only does it because he has to.
He
Yeah.
uses his tentacle thing, like
Or
with his
yeah.
death field.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to remember the character. I just watched something. Someone has the exact power that they have to absorb other people. Oh, it's like Sauron. Yeah, it's just like Sauron. Sauron has to
It is,
absorb.
yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Also created around the same time too, like in the same kind of decade,
Mhm.
which is very funny because a lot of the power sets that they give people, like 30 decades, they were really into like consuming people's essences to empower yourself. Others, it's like, environmental reasons were the reasons that they were empowered. Very interesting. Space for a long time was the main reason. So yeah, it's just interesting. But yeah, I did think it was interesting we didn't see any Savage Land kind of flashes too. Feels like Sentinels would have headed down there.
What the?
Unless they knew about
The
what was down there.
carbonadium synthesizer is what it's called.
Thank you.
There, yeah.
That's it.
That makes
Carbonadium
Yeah, yeah. I thought you were just talking about the tentacles. I was like, doesn't he
It
already
was-
has carbonadium tentacles?
Oh no, they have that. Yeah, they have that.
No. So, according to Wikipedia, which is always right, of course, Wolverine, Sabretooth, and whoever, like, their last mission
Maverick.
as, like, Team X or whatever, they stole the synthesizer thing. And so that's why he was always going after Logan.
Yep, they hit it. Maverick has it somewhere.
Yeah.
Which we've seen Maverick in the show too. He was in the episode where they
Yep.
all group up and you get the introduction of what's his face. I can't remember the robot's name.
Bastion?
No, it's original.
Original.
What was his? I can't remember the. It's a robot. It's supposed to be made out of adamantium, but it takes many versions of it to get there. But it just keeps coming back more evolved.
What,
And,
Nimrod?
Ultron?
Nope, it's the one they fight in that episode. He shows up in the cabin. He's like laid a trap from them. It's
Oh, yeah. You're talking about X Lives, right? The X Lives thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a canon character, like a canon robot villain thing, and it's a very fun little episode. But you get you get to see Maverick, who
Yeah, Maverick,
I will
Silver Fox, and Silver Fox.
yeah,
Yeah,
I will tell you the
Sabretooth.
funny thing. Growing up, I can't tell you why, but after seeing Maverick in the show, he all of a sudden became like my favorite superhero for a bit.
Yeah.
Which is not a great superhero that is your favorite because there's nothing with him anywhere,
Yep.
and also no action figures. But everybody'd be like, "Who's your favorite?" I'd be like, "I love Maverick." They'd be like, "Who the
Such
heck
a,
is Maverick?"
a killer design. As a kid, I was like, I love this dude. I love this dude's
cool.
design.
Yeah,
And I tried looking it
Yeah.
up and like trying to tell people who he is, and I'm like, I don't know. Is it like some Cyclops variant because he's got the gold and blue color scheme?
yeah.
Like it was so hard to explain who he was or find it until years later. And I started reading comics with him.
And even then, they use him so sparsely. But when they use him, he's pretty great. I did really enjoy when we actually got a decent amount of him for a bit there with the whole legacy virus because he had it. So like they did a whole time period where he was really I don't remember is he Agent X or no? Because I can't remember if it turned out Maverick was Agent X going after Deadpool or it wasn't.
They've recently changed Agent X, so I can't tell you.
They've changed Agent X like 80 times. It's the biggest issue with Deadpool is there's almost no way to follow a storyline in Deadpool comics because it's as wacky as it can be, and they change it whenever they feel like it.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I said, they've changed.
Most stories need a writer to retcon. Deadpool just retcons himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. It's pretty awesome, actually.
He literally did it in the last movie. He literally retconned himself at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, yeah, I don't want this to happen. I'm going to go back and change it. And he did.
Created a whole new branch of the Fox universe.
Thank you.
Ooh, is that gonna be the reason why the TVA shows up in the third installment?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Was because of the ending of 2?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he
Probably.
can't die, so
It makes sense.
I wanted to ask you guys if you heard the news, and this is not on the topic of the X-Men, but this is about Deadpool, but less about Deadpool and more about an actor that was in Deadpool. Now, I noticed, and I think a lot of people noticed, and I wasn't missing him. Although the first time I heard it, it was funny in the first movie. I got a little bored of T.J. Miller in those movies. I'm not the hugest T.J. Miller fan, and I really enjoyed seeing him get exploded in that Transformers movie. When, like, I don't know if you guys watched
he
the
gets
Transformers
blasted.
movie, but when he's in the first Mark Wahlberg one, like, there's literally a liquid metal missile that like just hits him. Like he starts lagging behind. You're like, why is he going so slow? And then he just gets explodiated. It's the best moment, especially if you're not a fan of him. You're like, TJ Miller got exploded. But he wasn't he was not brought back for the third movie. You know, as far as I know, he's the only mainstay of the previous two that won't even show up. He was not brought back. There are reasons surrounding that. There's been allegations of very inappropriate behavior, SA allegations, as well as there was a bomb threat a few years ago. There's a lot of incidents this guy's had. I was going to ask you,
why does it always happen to my favorite actors? It's like, okay, so this new actor is my favorite. Turns out they get those SA allegations.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, when's Ryan gonna get those?
Absolutely never. Dude's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's just a good guy.
I hope he doesn't.
Here, if you want someone who doesn't have any... Keanu, man. Keanu Reeves.
Keanu. Yeah. True,
you
Keanu.
just keep naming all the Canadians and we're cool with it. Just keep saying all the Canadians, all the people who grew up in Canada land, and yeah, you're right. We're just good people. But yeah, Keanu actually grew up. This means nothing beyond like he grew up 15 minutes away from where I lived for 8 years, like up until just recently moving to this place. He lived down the street.
Y'all are practically brothers then.
Yeah, I mean, I see him at least once every. No, I wish. What a cool guy. I'd love to get to know. It wouldn't be the coolest
the
guy
thing is, if you live that close to him, there's a chance you really could have, because like there's all these stories online about like just normal interactions with him, like on the bus or like in a park or like he's like the most normal dude ever. Like
simple guy. Like my favorite thing I've ever seen was the response to him sitting on a bench eating his lunch, and how that went viral for a bit, like the Keanu eating a sandwich. And people asked him about it, and they're like, "What were you doing?" He was like, "Eating my sandwich." Like, what do you mean? What was I doing? They're like, "Yeah,
well,
you're Keanu.
let me
backpedal
nice just a tad. He's the second most normal person ever. That award has to go to Tony Hawk. He's like the most humble person on the planet, and people don't even believe they've met him when they've met him. Like, have you seen any of the stories about Tony Hawk, like in the airport or whatever?
Like, oh yeah, I saw one thing about that where someone was said like, oh, the guy, he was like, oh, you skateboard. The kid's like, yeah, I skateboard. He's like, you want to skateboard like Tony Hawk? The guy's like, no, Tony Hawk's lame. He's an old guy. I don't want to skate like an old guy. And like Tony
Well,
Hawk
and, like,
walked away without saying anything. He's like, I was shamed.
Well, like one time at the airport,
I'll be
he
back.
was checking in for his flight or whatever, and the guy's like, "Does anybody ever tell you look like Tony Hawk?" And he goes, "All the time." And then
Yeah.
he hands him his like thing, and he's like, "Dude, your name is Tony too? That's so weird."
You see all the evidence, and you're still like, no, it's not
Well,
the guy.
what's funny is that happens with like, there's lots of like chill celebrities that happen to like,
It's got to be the Superman effect.
like Tom
Yeah,
Morello,
exactly it,
the
yeah.
guitar player from Rage Against the Machine, like he told a story one time about going to like.
I wouldn't know that was him, though. To be honest, I know
Oh,
Rage Against the Machine,
yeah.
but I wouldn't recognize him.
So, like, he was telling a story about going to like Starbucks or something, and the guy was like, "Did anybody ever tell you that you look like Tom Morello?" And he's like, "Yeah, every once in a while." And then he says, "What's the name for your coffee?" And he's like, "Tom." He's like, "Your name is Tom too? That's so weird."
Yeah, it's funny. Those are funny. I've had some interactions with some people.
All right, I'm back.
You know what was a weird one? This is a weird one that I'll leave this off on. Did you guys ever watch Frasier years ago? I know some people are too young for probably Frasier.
No.
Yeah, I saw the head.
I should be too young.
I know
but
there's
my
a-
mother's
I mean,
watched me quite a bit.
I haven't
Well,
ever
there's-
watched it, but I'm familiar with the characters and the actors and stuff.
There was a character in it who, so later in the show, Niles, the brother, is getting a divorce,
Mhm.
and he's going to be with Daphne, the physical therapist for the father. And at the time, though, Daphne's starts dating a guy who's the lawyer for Niles. That guy who played, I don't know his name even, but he grew up in the area I grew up in. He used to come into the restaurant where I was working. I was a busboy. My first real job. I had worked consistently for years. I worked as a busboy while at school. And this guy would come in every Sunday and sit there with his family, like his mom, his dad, and like he was an actor that was in this popular show, and like he was a show that was still on. He was in it while it was on. He's coming in there, and I walked up to him one time and goes, "Are you the guy?" He's like, "I am that guy." I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I come here every week to have a meal with my parents, and then I go back to work." I'm like, "You fly in every?" He's like, "Yeah, I love my parents." I'm like, that is, I mean, if you've got the funds, you got the ability. I mean, I get it, but like,
Yeah, exactly.
what a different lifestyle, right? But just such a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's such a nice guy. Such a very, he was like a working actor, and the show was winning awards at the time. So I mean, he was a guy. Also, stutter, very noticeable stutter. He had like a speech impediment throughout his whole life, and he worked very hard. Working actor in a show where articulate speaking was kind of the point, and he was a guy with a stutter that pulled it off and did it excellently. So it was very impressive. But when I met him, he had it. I go, "You're such a good actor." He goes, "Thank you." So just a cool thing. I met this guy a couple times because I see him a few times after that, and he's like, "I'm here again." I'd be like, "Wow, you really come in all the time." Wild. I wish we had all had that kind of ability to be able to fly in wherever we want, whenever we want.
Closest
But
thing I
yeah.
have to that kind of experience would be this one old guy, because he's in my town. We have like this homegrown theater basically, and it's live performance on the stage before the props are taken down. It's not, well, I guess they are kind of recorded, but essentially one of the old dudes who, well, before the pandemic, was in a few of the plays. He was on the set in a scene of, I don't remember if it was The Librarians or Leverage, but he was in a scene for one of those two shows. And I know it was specifically a playing chess in the park kind of scene. I just can't figure out which one of the two it was, but I know it was one of the two. But I saw that old dude
Nice.
a few times, and yeah, it just,
Local celebrity stuff. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm not even sure
cool.
if he counts, but he's the closest I've got to that kind of
I
experience.
want to bring it back real fast to X-Men for just one last thing I want to touch on. You know, I said at the beginning of the pod we're doing tonight that the character that stood out for me was Eric. I think Magneto. He was for me the every episode I came back to see what was going to happen with him. I wanted to see what was going to happen to every fight, but I was gripped by the character. I felt like, you know, they've done him so well. So that was for me, but I would love to hear what each one of you would say would be the character that not only are you were gripped with for this season, but maybe the one that you're most excited to see where it goes next season. What could happen to them? You know, there's so much they could do with Eric. Although it looks like we're going to be spared the whole Joseph of it all, which I'm very thankful because not my favorite time period of the whole Joseph Magneto time period. I like when he knows who he is.
Yeah. Magneto was a standout for this season, but I think Rogue was definitely the second one. Like I really enjoyed her not pulling her punches anymore. I think that was really cool to see because in the original show, she is constantly set to be the most powerful mutant on the X-Men. I mean, everyone's gotten power ups this season. I mean, like literally every X-Men character got a power up this season, besides Wolverine, of course. But
But how do you power up Wolverine? Like, it's just like a very powerful guy
I
with
mean,
claws.
you know, he's not going to be technically got a power up because he's no longer poisoned by the adamantium. So we'll count that as power up, sure.
His healing factor is much stronger now.
Yeah, exactly. But Rogue is, and Rogue really intrigues me. It intrigues me on her power set because now if they're I'll go into Apocalypse a little bit later after everyone says everyone's, but if they go into X-Men Evolution, which with the Apocalypse, the young Apocalypse, because I feel very deja vu. If you see X-Men Evolution, they do Apocalypse and they do the flashbacks to Apocalypse, getting his powers and everything. Like this feels exactly the same thing they did in Evolution, which really excites me. And Rogue, and especially when we hopefully get Death Gambit is if Rogue will get a storytelling with Apocalypse because she absorbed Archangel in the original show and she got his feelings and his hatred towards Apocalypse. So I'm really excited for that. So yeah.
Looks like I got some research to do. I'll have to be watching this X-Men Evolution show to be able to be ready for next season.
I remember watching it like at least twice. I don't remember that.
Yeah,
like, I remember Apocalypse.
I do know he's pretty major in it, and I know a lot of the characters. Like I remember hearing about it, and about like how
he was in their last
never
season
Horsemen
before.
and other stuff or Horsemen.
Yeah, it's the final season.
In their last season before the show was just canned. Like I don't remember exactly what happened. Like, what was it? There was some sort of fire that happened, and that's why they didn't continue. I don't remember exactly what the story was.
Yeah. I
don't know.
We don't go into it.
I mean, hopefully, maybe if there's enough interest, other shows. I mean, you know, the rescuing of of good animated shows have been something that they've been doing. We got more Young Justice, which wasn't as good as the original, but still.
I like how Young Justice became an X-Men show in the newest season, but it still stuck where it ended with a bad ending.
yeah, keeps ending with a bad ending. So Coco, how about you? What character was your superstar for the season?
I mean, I agree with Jay. Like Rogue was definitely a standout character, other than Mags, of course. But I'm not surprised. It's not like it was anything different than what he's always been, because he's always been awesome. But I loved everything they did with Nightcrawler.
Yes.
My boy Charlie was in the audience a few minutes ago and reminded me of it. But like, I've always loved that character. Like, it's probably my favorite X-Men character. And just he's always the voice of reason in one way or another for the team. And even with everything that was going on with all of this time, he still was the voice of reason for the team.
Absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
love seeing that from him. I hope we see more of him.
I couldn't agree more.
And also,
Actually, with you saying that, yeah.
old Blue Lips showed up, so of course I'm hoping that his AOA alternate shows up because he is
Yeah.
the exact opposite of real Nightcrawler, and it's beautiful and gorgeous when he gets just like psychotically violent in the
Yep.
comics. So like,
Yeah. I mean,
especially in X Force, which is still one of my favorite things I've ever read, is Rimender's X Force.
well, I
run
mean,
with
remember, he doesn't
that
get
group,
that
so
stuff until he hops over. In the
yeah,
original,
I know.
in AOA, he's a
But-
lot more like he's still kind of fun, and he's happier than he ever really was technically because he's working with Mom. You know, he likes his
Yeah,
he gets to live the
true.
life he kind of wanted to.
But I just
And he's
I just
not
love
forcing
everything
it, right?
about like
He's
especially as a guy who grew up in church and who's worked in church,
Yeah.
like Nightcrawler's just always really resonated with me, and I've always loved this idea
Yeah.
of like this devoutly Christian guy who looks like a demon, so he's persecuted by the church, but he's like devoutly faithful to God, and
Yeah.
like it's just such a cool like basically a
Doesn't
middle finger
do
to
it
hypocritical church people, like it's
Mhm.
like basically breaking your religious vows to persecute me, who is devoutly faithful to the God you say you worship, but because I don't look like what you think I should, you're treating me like like I just love all of it. I always have. Like it's
Yeah.
such a
he's-
great
I can't-
thing.
I can't speak
For
on
the same
religious
reason that like everything with Mags resonates, from because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many parallels to. I mean, literally he lived through the Holocaust, but like there's just so much like parallel to like Jewish persecution in the 30s and 40s and
just
in Germany
persecution
and
in
stuff.
general really is.
Well, yeah, but
It's hard,
it's
yeah.
just like those storylines for whatever reason just really resonate differently because there's such a like real world tie-in to them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And,
totally.
like, and I mean when they created the X-Men, I mean it was all based on the civil rights movement and stuff, and so like the stuff that really digs into that, even if it's like surface level or like parallels, just always really resonates with me, and I feel like Kurt is one of the characters that really resonates.
I can't speak on the religious
I love him
aspect
so
of Kurt.
much.
Yeah, I can't get on the religious aspect of Kurt, but I can tell you that I will say that one thing that always comes very through, ignoring the whole AOA version of him or any other even multiverse version of him, really. Let's just talk mainstream 616, which they duplicated really well in the show. He's so kind, and that's
Yeah,
the character.
he really
the way the
is.
character
Yeah.
is. They portrayed him like in the comics. One of the reasons that like him and Logan are close in the comics, and the reason that he's Blue Little Furball. He's his little buddy, but he's also like he's so patient with Logan, and he doesn't try too hard because he understands. It's sometimes easier to just sit by your friend, and it's just that kindness radiates off that character, and he always has.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
I think that the reason people love him is he's just a beautiful soul that and that's what his triumph of character is. And throughout the comics, they've been unkind to him in the comics. He has had a rough go always. He's one of the characters that's had the roughest go of it consistently.
Well, and that's the
until they
thing.
kind
Like
of-
he remains this beautiful soul that's been treated like terribly, but he still looks for the good in people, which is just something that I really like and really resonates with me for sure.
Yeah, he was always one.
The other character that really stood out to me this season, just because I was surprised that I felt this way, they really redeemed Cyclops for me. Like I was kind of like, I don't really care about Cyclops anymore, and they made me actually like Cyclops this season. Like I feel
his
like
laser beams.
Concussive blast.
his force blast.
The first episode, like when he's just good work team, and it's just like boom, he lands his own superhero landing.
Dude, yes.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole. He did that again.
Yeah.
The combat in this last episode was freaking awesome.
Hey, with
Yeah.
the Marvel's Capcom X and then do the laser
Yes.
blast.
Yeah.
Oh.
And how big, and like it was the full force optic blast.
Yo.
But I mean, if you're gonna talk surprising and redeeming, Jube's kind of kicked ass this season too. Like, she was a bad.
Yeah.
She trucked him.
Yeah,
in the
Jubilee.
face. What the
Jubilee
heck?
has definitely like grown up. Like it's really
She's
cool to.
stepped up her
She's
game.
not. She's not. Well, and they basically moved her into the mentor role and put Sunspot in kind of her role.
Sunspot's the new Jubilee.
in some
wasn't
ways.
Okay. So
And so.
for the opening of '97, Sunspot was at the fence, right? At the metal wire fence. Wasn't Jubilee at that exact fence in the opening of the original series?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much it's literally like
Yeah,
so
basically something similar.
the
The very
exact
first
same
episode
story.
is.
Yeah.
The very first episode is them. Night of the Sentinels is them rescuing Jubilee from the mall when the Sentinels attack.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole first episode of the original show.
There is that.
So
more.
And then it's like what? First episode of '97, you got them rescuing Sunspot, but later, like in the 3-part finale, they are at the mall, her and Sunspot. They are together.
Yeah.
And it's all by Sentinels. Different Sentinels, but still.
Yeah. At the mall.
Yeah, they kind of they
bring it full circle.
They kind of replicated, like, I feel like Storm was kind of that for Jubilee, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a long time since I watched the original show, but I feel like Storm kind of took Jubilee along a little bit. And now, like, in this one, Jubilee has taken Sunspot on and kind of trying to teach him.
With Storm to Africa in the original, if I remember correctly. I think she goes with Storm to the when Storm goes to Africa. So, like, she was kind of the hang-on.
Okay.
The Shadow King?
About the episode of...
Yeah, the Shadow King episode. Wasn't she there for that?
was Rogue. That was Rogue.
Yeah,
Rogue.
It was Rogue. I would say Logan has been kind of Jubilee's.
Well, Logan and Jubilee definitely.
But Storm in Jubilee's first appearance,
she definitely.
I get that's what it is.
But I mean, you definitely, they definitely, like, you can see, like, in this one, Jubilee is like a full-fledged member of the team, and she's bringing someone in the way that they brought her in, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Plus, combat-wise, they really upped their game.
Dude, finally, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool.
I mean, in the comics, they've been doing it too. So that
I
feel like they upped everybody's
they
game
did
combat-wise.
Absolutely.
Like that first episode, Cyclops looked freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It was
like, hey, MCLC, how about we get that buff now? Because I want to be doing this stuff. Like, even if it's just animations, like, I want his dash back to be using the beam like he did in the first episode. Like, I just think that'd be cool,
I would say Jubilee's makes the most sense to get an upgrade because in the first show, in the original show, she's always messing up, like she's always breaking machinery, and that's why the Sentinels, she can easily defeat the Sentinels. So it was cool to see her get a moment to hit the first crack at Bastion's true face, I should say.
And hit it down, like knocked his face around.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's kind of what they've been doing. Like, she's over the last decade, they've upped her game a lot. I mean, she's had a lot of different stuff. I mean, are we going to get vampire Jubes at some point? Maybe. Did that happen for a long time in the comics?
Mm-hmm.
Did she lose her powers and become a different superhero at one point? That also happened. But she's done so many different things. Now she also has a son that's a dragon, which is a crazy thing in the comics. But she's very much grown her powers, and that's something they can do with this time jump too. They can jump forward her abilities a little bit, give her more time to figure out how to do stuff. So it's gonna be exciting to see what they do with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
All I know is I can't wait for season 2 or X-Men '98 or whatever we're calling it. Like, I can't wait.
98.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm extremely excited, and I think that's what we should end this off with, is give kind of our last thoughts on what we hope to see. Like, yeah, we talked about what could it be, but in your dream of dreams,
yeah.
what's our next season tackle? Like, we've seen them. Let's not be silly here and think it's gonna be one thing, because as we've seen, they don't run that way. We're gonna get multiple storylines. So, like,
yeah.
throw your 2 most wanted at me and see. They don't even have to work together. These people cooked, so let's see what you got.
I'll let you guys go first because you guys know what I'm going to say.
Okay. One thing, Cyclops and Jean Grey being in the future. Remember how they had to separate from Cable at his birth? Well, it was Cyclops and Madeline.
Yeah.
That's
But
apart
still.
from comics. Yeah.
Yep.
But still, it would be nice to see them being able to have some role of connecting
they will.
to, well, at least to Cyclops' child.
Yeah, they're gonna. That's a full storyline we're definitely getting. It's called Slim and Red.
Yeah.
It's like a thing that happens. It's fantastic. You'll love it.
It would be nice to see some father-son bonding, because, like, that was a big thing for Cyclops. Like, it hurt seeing that ripped away from him. So it would be nice to see that fully.
Wow.
And I guess the other thing would be seeing how Nightcrawler, a Christian, interacts with a pharaoh of Apocalypse's caliber in Sabanur.
Really? Is that should that be a difficult interaction?
A
guy who worships a pantheon of gods that is interacting with someone who worships someone he calls the one true God. I would think that would be an interesting interaction.
I mean,
it would be like,
like,
like having
it's not
some
like
sort of.
Nightcrawler doesn't know that history existed, and like that this is something
Also
they believe.
true.
Like,
Yeah,
like
no,
really,
I know.
but
It's just,
pretty intelligent guy, and he's
It's not-
studied.
You guys know
Yeah,
who
but
is a
it's not like-
pharaoh, right? At this time,
but it's
Yes, we
not so
do.
much like.
A
It's not
gentleman
even just
named
that. It's
Rama.
more like about a devout Christian interacting with a guy who acts like a god. Like, that's essentially what I'm trying to
Such
say
a good
here.
storyline.
Yeah.
You just made me want that, Jay. They're not gonna give me. They're not gonna give me.
They have
the
to.
depth of- yeah, but you think they're gonna give us Rama?
They have to. They literally have to. That's with evolution.
I mean,
As
it
well.
does seem like that. Wow, they did that in Evolution.
Sort they dance around it.
Because I was like, that's a major character to introduce. I
But
would've
if we're
thought
going,
I would've been-
I have no idea what y'all are talking
okay,
about.
okay.
But
So like, Apocalypse, like he's white skinned right now. He doesn't get the blue skin until he gets the Eye of Ages, which is from the Celestial ship. But Rama Tut, the variant of Nathaniel Richards, yeah,
He's a king.
is a Kang variant.
Oh,
He's one of the
He-
most famous kings. Actually,
He is one of the most, and he's the
Gotcha,
ruler of
okay.
Egypt at this point in time.
Mhm.
And he uses the Eye of Ages to get like he wants.
So you
to,
think they're gonna?
yeah?
You think they're gonna give us Kang?
they
Yeah,
have
You think
to.
that's where they're going, Jay?
They have to. Like that's what I'm saying. Like this is so. They like Apocalypse
That'd be insane,
fights.
bro.
Like this is literally how he becomes Apocalypse.
I mean, yeah,
thought
that's
it was
why
the
he
Celestial
becomes.
ship. That's gonna
Dang.
be Kang's ship.
Oh
That's gonna be
wow!
Kang's
If they,
It'll be a
Is-
celestial ship, but Kane wants the celestial ship.
Yeah,
oh man, if they give us
Ooh.
Kang, holy moly!
Yeah.
Is in Sabanur gonna be an initial ally of the
like you say it.
group of X-Men in season 2,
Mhm.
and they're gonna have to choose between Apocalypse or Kang, aren't they? Or
They're gonna have to help Apocalypse defeat,
You're gonna have to help Apocalypse. They have to.
but then create Apocalypse,
Dang.
Wow,
or
Like,
It's a
self-fulfilling prophecy.
yep, exactly.
Yeah, and that's kind of the purpose. That's what Apocalypse always is. Like in the comics, he's inevitable, and he always is. He has to happen. He's important. and he's like one of those things you guys were saying earlier. He's a fixed point kind of thing. So much
Mhm.
surrounds him and what
Ooh.
he's done that he's worked throughout time, and he's worked with so many. Like, you saying that, and now I'm like, you know what I want them to give me? It makes no sense, but can they give me Apocalypse versus Dracula? Because I really want that to be the thing they do with Apocalypse, because that's like one of the best like comics they've ever done.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, that's such a really cool thing to get. Uh, I think to touch King right now would be absolute poison for Marvel to be anyone. Like, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
that's
sure
where I'm
that they're
afraid.
Ooh,
That's where I'm
yeah.
afraid
the
is that
only character they're not allowed to use ever again right now. Like, he might be taken out of the story forever, which sucks. But
Yeah.
also, it's fine. People act like King is such a big deal.
I mean,
King's
You know what's
not big a
crazy
deal,
though? You know what's crazy
really.
though? You were
Yeah.
talking about the Avengers and how we didn't talk about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver being off-world, by the way.
No, we didn't.
yeah,
They're-
whatever that means.
Either they're with the High Evolutionary or they're a part of the Avengers, because that's like the only storylines that are happening right now. And if they're in space, Kang at that time, so like maybe there's the Kang Wars happening with the Avengers that this not the normal Avengers, because obviously Cap and Iron Man are on Earth, but the space themed, the more powerful Avengers having to deal with cosmic threats, and Kang being a timeline threat. Just saying, makes the
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it'll be
although, did
it'll be
you guys see that
fascinating to see where they
piece?
go for sure.
They released a graphic a little while ago. I can't find it. If someone wants to hunt it down, it actually showed all the storylines that are canon, like all the different shows that are actually canon to each
Oh,
other
yeah,
from
yeah.
the animated. And I'm pretty sure the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest, whatever, is the show that's considered canon for Avengers, but that all takes place like way later. So like this time period, Avengers, what interstellar, like the King War,
Wait, are you
or
saying that Earth's Mightiest Heroes is canon to this X-Men series, or?
yeah,
Is it?
Ooh,
No way.
it is.
I'm pretty
If
sure.
it is, then they've already dealt plenty with Kang,
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
and they even have Gyrick coming back.
Well, the
interacting
time
with the
periods are
mutant,
going to
by
be
the way.
different, most likely, because this is we're looking at '97,
Oh.
and those shows are probably set much later. So like we're looking
Yeah,
at
no,
like
it
the
definitely
previous
is.
stuff.
So it's like what, a decade in the future when Gyrick's still around, but he is now in charge of Sword. For Abigail Brand, a mutant is working.
They made Abigail Bryan a mutant.
No, she's
is
always
a
been a
mutant.
mutant.
No,
Yeah,
I know,
she's
but
always
knowing
she's a mutant.
kind of thing. Like, is she out as a mutant in this Sword? Because like she keeps it pretty quiet for most of like
I
until she's
don't
running
think
stuff.
she was not. When I was watching EMH recently, she wasn't labeled a mutant, but he did note that she wasn't exactly human.
Okay.
And
Well, yeah,
he is
that's the
correct.
thing about her.
She
You're not
is
supposed to
half
know where
alien and
she
so
came
on,
from.
but she's also
Yeah.
mutant, and she did allude to that, using her powers to take back the ship from the Kree that were invading.
I haven't watched the show, so it's another show I'm gonna have to look into.
Oh, it's a good show. It pains me to say they are not getting a third season unless they
Isn't it been off the
get
air
the
for
97
years at this point?
It's been off, and you know why it's been off the air? It's
No.
because of the MCU.
Oh,
Because after the second season, or whenever around that time, you got the first Avengers movie that releases, and then oh hey, the Marvel companies have decided pan Earth's Mightiest Heroes and start releasing this new Avengers cartoon that makes the Avengers look more like their MCU counterparts, most notably Hawkeye, because he doesn't have like the purple Batman, Wolverine, whatever mask going on. They got the new Avengers Assemble cartoon after EMH because of the MCU.
You know why he's dressed like that? Little fun piece of tidbit information. Does anybody know why he's dressed like that?
Because
When
the
Hawkeye-
circus?
Yeah, The circus.
Because it's awesome.
Okay.
It was a circus.
Because it's awesome. No.
That was it.
All
It wasn't
right.
that fancy
Okay.
enough.
I looked it up. Okay, I looked it up. So Earth's Mightiest Heroes isn't canon to 97 or 90 or the anime series. It's connected to
Okay.
Wolverine and the X-Men. So it's connected to the
Oh.
other X-Men show.
Oh, okay. My
Right.
bad.
I was like, because I know I've seen Earth's Mightiest Heroes, so I was like, these shouldn't connect.
I haven't seen it, but I was trying to
Yeah, I
remember
was
the
gonna-
graphic, and I guess it was
There was-
connected to the other side of it. Okay. Well, that makes
Yeah.
me feel better then, because I was like, I don't have time for all these different shows right now.
I haven't.
This is too many
I haven't
things for me
watched
to
a
get
lot
rid
of it. I just know the voice cast is great.
Oh yeah, no, it's
That's all I know about
Earth's
Mightiest Heroes. But
It's
I have
amazing.
not. I have
All right,
not
gentlemen.
watched it.
I think
But-
that's it for me tonight. I think I'm going to have to bounce off, sadly.
Yeah, I need to too. I do want to say we're not going to get this for season 2 because they went with the whole time travel thing, so they're obviously going
Yes.
in a different direction. I was hoping that with the introduction of the Avengers that we might get AVX in the show, which we might still at some point, but I don't think they're going to go there next season because
I don't
of
think so,
how
right.
they ended this season.
Yeah.
But
I think
They
there's
could
seats
like
there
a
for
season-
They
sure.
get a
Without
season
Phoenix?
3, they could have that, I guess.
Is it just me, or does anybody else want Phoenix to not show up for a season? Like, I feel like we've seen her.
Yeah.
I think that we will get her, but I don't want it to be Jean Phoenix.
Yeah,
is
she
what I
said
mean.
it. She said it left her. She said specifically
Yeah.
it left
Yeah,
her.
she
It's
said it was
gone.
gone.
We
so-
know what that means.
Hey.
Like, we
It means
know
the
what
same
that
thing as
means.
when they killed Gambit, is what it means.
Yeah, until the story needs her to get it back. But I mean, we've seen Rachel show up in this episode.
Yes.
We've seen we there is nothing stopping them from getting to the point where we go a while without, and then AVX could be introduced with the Return of the Phoenix, which is what it's originally introduced as,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Return
yeah.
of the Phoenix. They're trying to
That's
stop.
true, yeah.
But I'll tell you, all those storylines really freak me out because the thing that will have to go first, make it much closer of a fight, is you'd have to decimate. And come on, I can't handle another Genosha level event, but this one even world scale.
No,
Anytime
don't
soon.
say it.
We need some more of a break right now. Let's just
Hurt.
chill for a little while.
Are you talking
Yeah.
about when they hurt Wanda to the point she says the line?
Yes,
Mhm.
which is called it's called
That one.
decimation. It's literally one of the hardest comics I've ever read in my life. Was sitting there and reading through the Decimation book, which is the basically all the reporters talking about it and like following the events of what happened and how it's not attached to superheroes; it's attached to the everyday people that were affected, and it's so upsetting. It sticks with you. So it's
So
again another
good.
one of these Marvel stories.
So good.
I mean,
Before-
there's some really hard moments, and that's one of them. So yeah,
Well,
For sure.
I will say before we go, they're doing sort of an Age of Apocalypse, of course.
we're getting something. Yeah,
We're
There's no-
getting an age.
Yeah, or we're getting Ages of Apocalypse is what it's definitely going to be called. By the way, it's definitely going to be Ages of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Ain't no Legion.
Ages of 98.
Ain't no Legion.
Ages of
I
98.
noticed.
Yeah.
I noticed. That doesn't mean we're not going to get them.
For sure.
That means that they couldn't introduce them with all the stuff they want to touch on right now. Also, introducing a character like Legion at the same time as dealing with a character like Bastion with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
version
yeah.
of Bastion they chose. It's they're too mind expanding powers, like way too much for
True.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Also,
I feel like
just I have to throw this out there real fast. You know who else we don't have, and we don't have him in MCOC. We don't have him in the other movies. It's like they just ignore the fact that he even flippin' exists. And I was reading Omega Red's like origin story, and it came up there too.
Forget
Where
me
the heck
not?
is Sean? No, where is Sean Cassidy at? Dang it! Where is
Oh,
Banshee?
fuck.
Like Banshee is
He
nowhere to be
died.
found
He
in,
died.
like, any
He's
of this
dead.
stuff.
He died on
Yeah.
Genosha.
But what? Why is he dead?
Same with
He was on
Mora.
Genosha when it got
Yeah,
exploded.
he died with Mora.
Gosh,
Oh,
like
Mara,
why will they not?
Yeah,
Why
Mara's
will
dead.
no one give me Banshee in media? Like why? Why
You
will they not give me
technically-
Banshee?
If they give you
Wait.
AOA, you'll get some Banshee.
Yeah.
He's
I
very
want
important
Banshee
to the
so
team.
bad.
He's
I
literally the
want
only reason they
I want
tried their best to be
Banshee
able to
in
win.
POC so stinking bad, and they just won't do it. They won't give him to me. He's so mad.
Banshee? Okay.
Yes, I want Banshee.
Okay.
I mean,
on a note of
yeah.
House of X, Jay just mentioned that Mora's dead.
Yes.
On the note of House of X,
Yeah,
does that
doesn't-
mean
Yeah.
she's not
No.
not a Mora with that kind of
we don't know.
We don't know, and that's the thing that icks me.
We could always find out that this is rebooted like next season or 2 seasons from
Yeah.
now. That could be the way they reboot it, going like, oh wait, why are we following Moira? And then like those that know are going to
Especially,
go,
hey,
shit, they did
especially
it.
if they go
Oh.
the Omega Sentinel route. They've been connected in more recent comics, so yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Oh well, yes, very much so. They've been connected.
Exactly.
Very much so.
Very much. But I wanted to say, if they do Legion, the way they wrote Shadow King out in the original show is literally perfect to introduce Legion.
Absolutely.
And especially if they're doing Age of Apocalypse, like I think the seeds are there. They did a Proteus storyline, which Proteus is very similar to Legion, but they can still do it, and they show Charles as a lover boy. You could see he's been many partners throughout the show, so I would love for them to do it if they get around to it
I think we'll get there.
eventually.
yeah.
But yeah, man.
Speaking of
The problem
Charles,
is you picked a character that is a full story in each personality. Like you picked one of the hardest characters to give you all of because
Hey,
it's Edwin.
hey, guess what? He's
Yeah.
in X-Men Evolution too. So,
Also, his television show, from what I understood, was incredibly good.
oh yes, best.
That's on my list, though.
I'm
Still
gonna
on my
rewatch this
list.
one. Dude,
I'm gonna get to it.
guys. Oh my gosh. You'll watch it and you'll understand exactly how he can work. I mean, if you guys already know his comics work, but you watch the show and it works the same way because the show is so different, but such beginning and endings are the same. It's so interesting.
Oh, that sounds really cool. Yeah, I'm
Bro,
gonna probably
I love
speed up on watching
any kind of psychological
It's-
anything.
yes,
so
it's
I'm
so
sure
good.
Legion will be great. So
yeah.
I will get around to it.
Will it be
All right,
more
everybody.
fun?
Peace out.
Yeah,
Night.
man.
Love
We're about to
you
hit
guys.
2 hours, guys.
Enjoyed hanging out.
Yeah.
Giant-sized episode.
We will be meeting up next week for those that can make it,
Yeah.
and it's back to game talk. We have a lot of characters that have been introduced. We're going to do some deep diving on. We're going to have some game mode stuff to talk about. A lot of drama. It'll be great.